Okay, I want to talk about something that you've definitely eaten but probably never ever thought about, and that is butter, but in powder form. Yeah, you heard me right. It sounds a little strange, right? But it's also kind of wonderful, and it's all thanks to some really cool food science. So, let's get into it.
All right, first up, let's meet butter's weird cousin. This isn't something you're going to find in the dairy aisle next to the milk. Nope, this one lives happily ever after in the pantry.
Just think about this for a second. What if you didn't need to refrigerate your butter? What if it could just hang out on a shelf for months, maybe even years? Well, that's the exact problem that butter powder was created to solve.
And this really shows the whole dilemma perfectly, doesn't it? Over on the left, you've got your regular stick of butter. It's delicious, we love it, but man, is it needy. It needs that cold chain from the factory all the way to your fridge. But on the right, you've got its cool, calm, and collected cousin, butter powder. Just chilling at room temp, no sweat.
Okay, so what is this stuff, really? It's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's a powder made from real butter or cream that's been dehydrated. The whole point is to take all that amazing buttery goodness, the flavor, the fat, and lock it into a form that can last for ages without a fringe. But how? I mean, how on earth do you turn a solid block of fat into a fine, fluffy powder? It sounds like some kind of magic trick, but it's actually just some really, really clever science. Let's break down how they do it. All right, the process is actually surprisingly cool. You start with the real deal, actual cream. Then they mix in what are called carriers, stuff like whey protein, that basically help hold the whole thing together. But the real magic is the last step, spray drying. I want you to picture a giant perfume bottle, okay? And it's misting this creamy liquid into a chamber of super hot air. The water just vanishes, poof, and what's left floating down is this fine, buttery cloud. It's amazing.
And the secret to why it lasts so long? It comes down to this brilliant technique called microencapsulation. To stop the fat from going bad, scientists figured out how to put a tiny, invisible raincoat on every single droplet of butterfat. Seriously, this little coat protects it from the air, stops it from oxidizing, and just keeps all that delicious, buttery flavor locked right.
Okay, so we know what it is, we know how it's made, so the big question is, where is this stuff hiding? Because it is hiding. And it turns out it's a secret weapon that food manufacturers are using absolutely everywhere.
So, where have you eaten this stuff? I'm willing to bet you've had it way more recently than you think. Come on, take a guess. Where might you have run into this powdered gold?
Ready for the reveal? Okay, that buttery seasoning on your movie theater popcorn? Almost definitely butter powder. That rich flavor in a boxed cake mix? Or instant mashed potatoes? Yep, that too. It's in powdered sauces, those little flavor packets in your instant noodles, and the coating on tons of your favorite snacks. I'm telling you, it's everywhere.
And here's why it's so perfect for all those things. For all those dry mixes, it is the key ingredient because it adds that rich, buttery flavor we all crave, but, and this is the important part, it does it without adding any moisture. And that is the secret to making all those products last on a shelf.
Of course, like with anything, there's a trade-off, right? Why would a company pick a powder instead of just using fresh butter? Well, it all boils down to a classic battle, taste versus transport.
And if you look at this comparison, you can see the trade-offs pretty clearly. On one hand, fresh butter. Its flavor is just unbeatable. It's rich, it's complex, it's fresh. Butter powder is good, don't get me wrong, but some of those, those delicate top notes, they can get a little lost in the process. But where the powder totally crushes it is shelf life and convenience. We're talking months, even years, versus a few weeks. And no fridge! That's why fresh butter is still the king for finishing a dish, but the powder is the undisputed champ for all those big industrial mixes.
And that big number right there, 0, that's probably the single biggest advantage for any company trying to ship food all over the world. 0, as in 0 refrigerators needed to ship it or store it. That's a huge, massive deal when it comes to cost and just making things simpler.
Okay, so next time you're at the grocery store, I'm giving you a mission. You can be a food detective. Here's what you need to look for to spot this ingredient out in the wild.
You're going to want to look really closely at the ingredient list. If you see words like dried butter, or butterfat, or cream solids, then congratulations, you've found the real deal. But if it just says butter flavored, you should be a little skeptical. That could just mean a mix of artificial flavors and other fats trying to imitate butter without any of the real stuff in there at all. So, if there's one big takeaway from all this, it's this right here. Butter powder is a hero of convenience, not a replacement for flavor. It's this incredible ingredient that makes so many of our modern foods possible. But Is it going to replace that beautiful pat of fresh butter melting on a warm piece of toast? No way. They're just different tools for different jobs.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thought to chew on. If they can do this with butter, what other kinds of powdered magic are hiding in plain sight in your food? Something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me.